I got a new case, but you're not gonna like it.
What is it?
It's the worst spell.
A dry spell?
Oh, that is a real danger in desert climates. This is something far, far worse. True strike.
This may just be the toughest case in my entire career, but I graduated top of my class. Armor class, that is. Your Honor, True Strike is a joke of a cantrip, and if there is to be hurled, is the 9 hells. Your Honor, where is the nearest Starbucks? True Strike, a cantrip which requires an action to cast, is concentration, and it gives you advantage on your next attack on the start of your next turn. So essentially, it's like using a worse version of the help action that requires concentration. Your Honor, may I have the floor? Go ahead. What are you doing? You said I could have the floor. It's a figure of speech. So I don't get to keep this? True Strike may seem weak on the surface, but that's only because less creative players dismiss a lot of the options. For example, you can cast it before combat on a target to get advantage on it the next turn. But if you're preparing an attack, you most likely will get surprise. If not, you'll at least be unseen, which means that you'll have advantage on your next attack. With this in mind, your concentration is better spent with spells like Hex anyways. Ah, yes, but surprise does not necessarily mean unseen. You might still need advantage regardless. Very rare indeed, a waste of a cantrip slot and your concentration at that. Yes, but there's still niche cases where you can take advantage from True Strike. For example, say you're an Arcane Trickster Rogue, and you're, let's go with 7th level, so you have 46 sneak attack damage, using a Rapier, and have a Dexterity score of 4. Over those 2 rounds, you would deal 17 damage if you attacked without sneak attack. But if you did True Strike and then sneak attack, you would not only have a higher chance of hitting, which means more potential damage, you're also doing an average of 22 damage, which is higher than the aforementioned 17. If you're using True Strike to get advantage, you're truly desperate. Getting sneak attack is incredibly easy. All you need is advantage or a creature within 5 feet of you, and they practically hand out advantage in 5e. Help action from a familiar, if the opponent is prone, blinded, or any of the numerous conditions. If there's various spells like Fairy Fire, if you're invisible, if you're unseen. Flanking is an optional option in 5e. Various class and subclass abilities. The list goes on and on. Only a few of them require concentration to do so. Besides concentration, you'd have to maintain that to get the advantage. Unlike something where if you become invisible, you can attack, and then if you lose concentration, there you go. But with True Strike, your low constitution rogue is going to have a hard time keeping that up regardless. Objection! But what if you have disadvantage? What about it? If you have to roll at least a 9, excluding modifiers, to hit, then it is actually a higher chance of just using True Strike to attack once without disadvantage within those 2 turns than actually making 2 attacks with disadvantage over those 2 turns. That is correct. Using the help action is still better. If you're a caster, you're not going to benefit from advantage on yourself unless you were a Gish character. In regards, it's way better just to continue attacking or use spells that are more useful. If you're a caster, if you want to buff allies, you're better spent using spells or the help action. Besides, most spells require saves anyways, so it's not like that's your last resort. You have tons of options at your arsenal. But wait, the Eldritch Knight can cast a cantrip as an action to then attack as a bonus. Not only that, but the Bladezer can sacrifice one of their attacks for a cantrip. And that advantage doesn't come until your next turn. You're in the fray, you might lose concentration, Not to mention, you get this at 7th level, which means you already have extra attack. You can just attack twice and still have a bonus action for your Polar Arm Master attack or dual welding. You're not being convincing here. What about the Sorcerer's Quick Spell Meta Magic? Using your unused bonus action, you can cast Quickened True Strike, and then you can either make the attacks as normal or cast a cantrip. Unless you maybe have disadvantage and True Strike is your only option. But even then, they're just better spells and better options than trying to fight for advantage. It is a futile waste of time to continue this argument, Your Honor. But there's one thing you're forgetting. I call for a 5-minute recess. Maybe he's right. Maybe it is impossible to fix True Strike. I can't let that happen. No. I can't go back in there. If only I had. Wait a minute. Look, I concede that True Strike is incredibly restrictive in its uses. But there is ways we can improve on that, even though there are better cantrips. I'd like to call a witness to the stand. Gary? I'm Gary. I'm a dungeon master, local to the area. Some of my DM buddies and I, we talk about, homebrewing spells to make them more fun for the players, So, like one guy I know, he has everything the same, concentration, everything, except it just costs a bonus action to cast instead. There's one that's like, I've seen a guy where it's like, Booming Blade, where it's like that's part of the attack, but you have advantage. The only thing is this makes the new Blade Singers really broken because it just makes your attacks even better. But then there is one like a feat that was like a low level cantrip, abjuration, divination, and illusion spells cost a bonus action to cast, so that would enhance True Strike as well. But how I do it is I just remove concentration and until the next turn clause, so it's just a nice way to get, like, it's at least good as help action, essentially. Look, I understand that alterations in homebrew may not be what we're looking for here in arguing that if True Strike is a good spell, but their concept is there, and that's what matters. Dungeons & Dragons is a game about creativity and fun. And if we can find a way to make True Strike fun, isn't that a win? Sure, but that's not what we're ruling here. True Strike in and of itself, by the spells as written, what we're discussing here, isn't a good spell. But there is something you don't know, Your Honor. What is that exactly? This man is not a D&D player at all. No. He plays Warhammer. Traitor. Yes! And soon, D&D will be nothing different from any other fighting strategy RPG. Yes. Combat grids, movement with inches in real life instead of this theater of the mind. Soon, everyone will be fighting over if they moved their mini a millimeter too far, destroying their social lives with painting minis, and then I will have already won. You monster. I can't let that happen. And what are you gonna do to stop me? But there's something you don't know about me. And what is that? I am a high-level wizard. I cast True Strike. Have you learned nothing? That spell is useless. Time to die. There we go. Ha! You can only move 6 inches. Well, let me show you the one thing about True Strike I've been hiding up my sleeve. And what is that? Another terrible cantrip? Is that some spells do indeed use a spell attack roll. They are high risk, high reward. That's right. I cast 9th level Inflict Wounds! Wait, but wizards don't get inflict wounds. I took a feat. No!